Every 10 minutes, an older adult in the United States suffers a stroke. But here's the part almost no one talks about. Some of the most trusted vitamins on your shelf might be silently increasing your risk. In fact, studies now show that just one common supplement, still recommended to millions of seniors, could raise stroke risk by up to 347% when taken in the wrong form or dose. And 99% of older adults have no idea. Why? Because most stroke risk isn't coming from junk food or genetics. It's coming from vitamin overload, from well-meaning pills that disrupt blood flow, raise homocysteine, thicken your blood, or even damage vessels in your brain. And it doesn't take years. Some of these vitamins can change your blood chemistry within hours. That's why doctors in stroke units are now urgently warning patients over 60 to review their supplements, especially when early signs like dizziness, confusion, blurry vision, or sudden fatigue show up. Those may not be aging. They may be signals that your brain's blood supply is already compromised. The worst part, these aren't obscure vitamins. They're in your daily multivitamin. They're sold as brain boosters. Some are even given to stroke survivors without realizing the long-term consequences. But today that ends, because we're revealing the top 6 vitamins that can quietly raise your stroke risk overnight, ranked from least to most dangerous. And number 1 on this list is still marketed as essential for seniors, even though new data shows it may raise clotting risk more than high blood pressure itself. Every fact in this video is backed by real science, and every reference is linked in the description. So, before we dive in, let me know in the comments, what supplements are you currently taking every morning? We're reading and responding with personal guidance for everyone in this community. Now get ready. The first vitamin on this list sounds harmless, but can interfere with blood pressure meds and quietly damage vessels in your brain. Let's get into it. Number 6. Synthetic vitamin E, dual alpha tocopherol. This is one of the biggest supplement misconceptions among seniors. You've probably heard that vitamin E is good for your heart, good for your skin, and good for your brain. But here's the disturbing truth. When taken in its synthetic form, especially at high doses, vitamin E can quietly raise your risk of a deadly brain bleed. And most multivitamins sold to seniors still contain this risky version. Let's break this down. The natural form of vitamin E is called D-alpha tocopherol, and it exists alongside a family of related compounds known as tocopherols and tocotrienols. But synthetic vitamin E, listed on your supplement label as dual alpha tocopherol, is a man-made version that only mimics the structure of natural E. Problem is, your body doesn't process it the same way. In fact, it can actually block the absorption of other natural E compounds your brain desperately needs. This becomes dangerous fast. Why? Because natural forms of vitamin E, especially gamma tocopherol, are anti-inflammatory. They protect your blood vessels from oxidative damage and help regulate clotting. But when synthetic E dominates your bloodstream, it suppresses gamma tocopherol and other protective forms. The result is an imbalance that leaves your arteries more prone to inflammation, stiffening, and clot formation. Even worse, synthetic vitamin E thins your blood. For a healthy younger adult, that might not cause issues. But for seniors, it's a serious risk, especially if you're already on aspirin, warfarin, clopidogrel, or any blood pressure or cholesterol medication. A meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal found that vitamin E supplementation increased the risk of hemorrhagic stroke by 22%. In seniors over 65, the risk of brain bleeds from overly thin blood can spike even higher, especially with age-related blood vessel fragility. And you might not even know it's happening. Early signs can include unexplained bruising, sudden dizziness, blurry vision, or nosebleeds that take too long to stop. But sometimes there's no warning at all, just a sharp pain in the head or a sudden blackout. That's why synthetic E is so dangerous. It builds up quietly and can flip from helpful to deadly in a matter of days, especially if paired with poor hydration or high blood pressure. So, what should you do instead? First, check every label. If your supplement says dual alpha tocopherol, that's synthetic. Stop taking it. Switch to a natural food-based vitamin E labeled as D-alpha tocopherol with mixed tocopherols. Look for formulations that include gamma and delta tocopherols for full-spectrum brain protection. Or better yet, get your vitamin E from real food. Just 1 ounce of sunflower seeds delivers over 7 milligrams. Almonds, hazelnuts, spinach, and avocados are also excellent sources. and they come with the full matrix of antioxidants your body knows how to use. If you're currently on any blood thinning medication, talk to your doctor before making any changes. But don't wait until symptoms show up. Your brain's microvessels are some of the most fragile in the body, and protecting them starts with removing the silent threats. And synthetic vitamin E is one of them. Now let's move on to vitamin number 5, one that seems totally safe but can quietly shrink blood vessels inside your brain when overused. Number 5. Vitamin A, retinol palmitate or retinol supplements. Most seniors don't realize it, but high-dose vitamin A, especially in its performed synthetic forms, can quietly constrict blood vessels inside your brain and raise your risk of both ischemic stroke and sudden blood pressure spikes. You'll usually find it in multivitamins labeled as retinol palmitate or retinol acetate, and sometimes it's added to vision or skin supplements targeted at older adults. But here's the terrifying part. Your body stores this form of vitamin A in the liver, and once those levels cross a threshold, the damage can start with no warning signs at all. Performed vitamin A isn't like beta-carotene from carrots. Your body doesn't regulate how much gets absorbed. Once it's in your system, it keeps building up, and the excess doesn't leave easily. That excess starts creating a toxic effect on blood vessel linings, especially in the brain, where capillaries are already thin and delicate. The result? Microvascular constriction, oxidative stress, and even elevated intracranial pressure. In a 2014 study published in Stroke, researchers found that individuals with elevated serum retinol levels had a significantly higher risk of ischemic stroke. Other studies show that long-term use of high-dose vitamin A can trigger symptoms like double vision, nausea, spontaneous nosebleeds, headaches, and even seizures, all signs of elevated pressure inside the skull caused by impaired circulation and fluid balance. What makes this more dangerous for seniors is that your liver becomes less efficient at processing excess nutrients with age. That means even moderate doses of performed vitamin A taken daily can quickly accumulate to toxic levels within weeks or months. And if you're eating liver, taking cod liver oil, or using fortified cereals or milks, you might be getting far more than you realize, often double or triple the recommended intake. So, what should you do instead? First, avoid any supplement that lists retinol palmitate or retinol as its vitamin source, unless it's prescribed for a specific deficiency. Instead, opt for beta-carotene from whole foods like carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach, or butternut squash. These plant-based sources let your body convert only what it needs into vitamin A and safely discard the rest. For seniors, that difference could be life-saving. Even better, if you're taking vitamin A to support your vision, consider switching to a blend that includes lutein, zeaxanthin, and beta-carotene, compounds shown to protect the eyes without compromising brain blood flow. If you've been taking synthetic vitamin A for more than 3 months, ask your doctor to check your liver enzymes and blood levels immediately. The earlier you catch the buildup, the easier it is to reverse. Next, let's look at vitamin number 4, a popular brain booster that actually does the opposite by interfering with blood flow in the hippocampus. Number 4. Ginkgo biloba extract, high-dose or synthetic formulations. This one might shock you. Ginkgo biloba has been marketed to seniors for decades as a natural brain enhancer, claiming to boost memory, sharpen focus, and even prevent cognitive decline. But recent studies reveal that in higher doses, or in poorly regulated synthetic forms, it may actually increase the risk of intracerebral bleeding and stroke, especially in adults over 65 already taking medications for blood pressure or blood thinning. Here's what's happening inside your body. Ginkgo biloba contains compounds called ginkgolides and bilobalide, which thin the blood and act as vasodilators. At a healthy dose and under supervision, these compounds might help improve blood flow. But when taken in excess or alongside aspirin, warfarin, or even NSAIDs like ibuprofen, they drastically increase the chance of uncontrolled bleeding in fragile vessels, particularly in the brain. And in seniors, where arterial walls are already thinner and plaque buildup more likely, the risk is amplified. A 2018 study published in Neurology found a direct association between high-dose ginkgo supplements and a 38% increased risk of hemorrhagic stroke in individuals over 60. Even more alarming, A case report in the Journal of Geriatric Pharmacotherapy documented a senior experiencing spontaneous brain bleeding after taking ginkgo biloba in combination with daily low-dose aspirin, something millions of older adults do without knowing the risk. The issue isn't just about the herb, it's about the dose, purity, and combinations. Many over-the-counter ginkgo products contain inconsistent amounts of active ingredients, and some are spiked with synthetic additives to boost potency. That variability makes it nearly impossible to know how much you're really taking or how it will interact with your medications. Symptoms of a ginkgo-related complication can appear suddenly. Seniors may feel lightheaded, experience sudden confusion, slurred speech, or a severe headache that comes out of nowhere. These aren't just side effects. They can be signs of a life-threatening bleed in the brain. So what's the safe path forward? First, if you're using ginkgo biloba, stop immediately and check the label. If it doesn't clearly state the dosage or source, like standardized to 24% flavone glycosides and 6% terpene lactones, don't trust it. Talk to your doctor about safer memory support alternatives like citicoline, bacopa, or even low-dose omega-3s, especially if you're also on any blood pressure or blood-thinning medications. And here's something most people don't know. The brain's memory centers like the hippocampus rely more on consistent oxygen delivery than blood thinning. That means improving breathing, sleep, and nitric oxide levels through natural foods like beets or arugula can help your memory more safely than risky herbal shortcuts. Coming up next is vitamin number 3, an everyday energy booster that's now linked to dangerous spikes in blood pressure and stroke risk in people over 65. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 3. Vitamin B6, pyridoxine, in excessive doses. Vitamin B6 is often seen as harmless. It's in multivitamins, energy drinks, and marketed to seniors to support nerves, brain health, and metabolism. But what 99% of older adults don't know is that high-dose B6, especially over long periods, can be silently damaging your nervous system and increasing your stroke risk without warning. Here's why. Vitamin B6 plays a key role in neurotransmitter production and amino acid metabolism. But when taken above 100 milligrams per day, especially in supplement form, it becomes neurotoxic. And this is critical for seniors. As you age, your liver becomes less efficient at clearing excess water-soluble vitamins. That means what was once flushed out may now stay circulating longer in your bloodstream, damaging nerves, impairing vascular tone, and increasing inflammatory stress in your arteries. Multiple studies confirmed the danger. A 2017 report in Clinical Nutrition followed over 5,000 seniors and found that those taking high-dose B6 were nearly twice as likely to suffer sensory neuropathy, a type of nerve damage that causes tingling, numbness, and gait instability. But more shocking was the vascular link. Research in Stroke Journal reported that long-term B6 supplementation, especially when combined with other B vitamins, can paradoxically increase homocysteine levels in some individuals, a dangerous amino acid directly linked to arterial inflammation and stroke. The symptoms often sneak up. Seniors may feel sudden dizziness when standing, numbness in the legs or feet, or even tremors. But more dangerously, elevated homocysteine can silently stiffen arteries in the brain, increasing the chance of ischemic stroke, even if your blood pressure and cholesterol are normal. The problem? Many seniors are unknowingly overdosing. B6 is hidden in multivitamins, energy tonics, fortified cereals, and separate nerve supplements. Add it all up and you could easily be consuming 200 to 300 milligrams daily, 3 times the upper safe limit. What can you do? First, check your total B6 intake across all supplements. Look at the back of every bottle. If it adds up to more than 50 to 100 milligrams per day, you could be at risk. Next, ask your doctor for a homocysteine test. If it's elevated, cut back on B6 and increase folate and B12 from food-based sources like leafy greens and eggs instead. And most importantly, avoid time-release B6 supplements, which can build up in your system without obvious symptoms until it's too late. Up next is vitamin number 2, and it's one most seniors take every morning without knowing it could raise your stroke risk by over 30%, especially if you're over 65. Number 2. Vitamin E, alpha-tocopherol, in synthetic form. Most seniors believe vitamin E is heart-healthy, It's marketed as an antioxidant, brain booster, and anti-aging powerhouse. But here's the shocking truth. Synthetic vitamin E, especially in high doses, can dramatically raise your risk of stroke, specifically a hemorrhagic stroke, the deadliest kind. And the terrifying part, nearly every over-the-counter multivitamin for seniors contains the synthetic form without warning you. Vitamin E isn't just one nutrient. It's a family of 8 different compounds, 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols. But nearly all supplements use only one type, synthetic alpha-tocopherol, labeled as dual alpha-tocopherol acetate. This version is not only less bioavailable, but it also displaces the other, more beneficial forms of vitamin E in your body. And when that imbalance builds up, it thins your blood, damages your clotting response, and increases the risk of internal bleeding, especially in the brain. In a massive clinical trial known as the ATBC study, researchers followed over 29,000 men who supplemented with synthetic vitamin E. The result: a 22% increased risk of hemorrhagic stroke. Another study published in JAMA found that those taking more than 400 international units per day of vitamin E had a significantly higher risk of all-cause mortality, especially due to bleeding complications. But the risk becomes even worse in seniors who already have thinner blood, weaker vessel walls, and often take aspirin or other anticoagulants, creating a dangerous cocktail that can lead to sudden brain bleeds. Symptoms of a hemorrhagic stroke can appear suddenly and include severe headache, vision loss, difficulty speaking, or paralysis. But the real danger is that by the time symptoms show up, the bleeding has already begun. And with synthetic vitamin E thinning your blood silently every day, the odds increase without warning. Most seniors don't realize they're taking synthetic E. If the label says dual alpha-tocopherol, that's the synthetic form. What you want instead is the natural version, labeled as d-alpha-tocopherol, preferably blended with mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols, and the safest dose. Stick under 150 international units daily unless otherwise prescribed. If you're taking aspirin, warfarin, or other blood thinners, avoid high-dose vitamin E supplements altogether. And focus instead on food sources like sunflower seeds, almonds, spinach, and avocado, which provide balanced vitamin E in its natural form, along with synergistic nutrients that protect rather than harm. But now we've reached number 1, and this one is a total shocker. It's a vitamin most doctors recommend every single day. But in seniors, it can backfire so severely that some neurologists now warn it may be contributing to an explosion in microstrokes, cognitive decline, and deadly blood clots. Let's reveal it. Number 1. Vitamin B12 injections, cyanocobalamin form in excessive doses. This might shock you because vitamin B12 is usually praised as the ultimate brain vitamin. And yes, in many seniors, it's absolutely essential, especially if you're deficient. But here's the terrifying twist. The most common injectable form, cyanocobalamin, when taken in high doses or too frequently, may actually raise your risk of stroke by thickening the blood, triggering high homocysteine spikes, and overloading your body with toxic byproducts like cyanide derivatives. Let's break this down. Cyanocobalamin is the cheapest, most widely used form of B12. It's found in thousands of multivitamins and administered in clinics across the world as an injection. But it's not a naturally occurring form in the human body. To be usable, your liver has to convert it into methylcobalamin or etinosulcobalamin, and in the process, it releases a small amount of cyanide. Normally, your body detoxifies this easily. But in older adults with impaired kidney or liver function, the ability to clear this out is greatly reduced. Over time, it builds up, stressing blood vessels and compromising circulation to the brain. In a 2020 study published in Stroke, researchers discovered that seniors with elevated vitamin B12 levels, especially those receiving regular cyanocobalamin injections, had a 3.5 times higher risk of ischemic stroke, especially if they also had high folic acid intake. This combination, surprisingly, increases blood viscosity and disrupts endothelial function, meaning your blood vessels become more prone to clotting and less able to deliver oxygen where it's needed most. And what are the symptoms? Many seniors notice the early warning signs but don't realize the connection. Sudden confusion, one-sided weakness, face drooping, vision changes, or even dizziness after a B12 injection may not just be coincidence. When the blood is too thick or a small clot gets lodged in a narrowed artery, A microstroke or full-blown ischemic event can occur, often without warning. Now, to be clear, real B12 deficiency is dangerous, and if you have one, you absolutely need to treat it. But that treatment needs to be smart. Methylcobalamin is the active form your brain actually uses, and it doesn't release cyanide. It's more expensive, yes, but far safer for long-term use. Also, watch out for loading doses or high-dose pills over 1,000 micrograms unless your doctor has confirmed a real deficiency via blood test. For general maintenance, a 250 to 500 micrograms dose of methylcobalamin 2 or 3 times per week is usually enough and far less risky. If you've been getting regular B12 shots and also deal with high blood pressure, thick blood, memory problems, or a past stroke, you might want to check your homocysteine levels. Elevated levels are a clear sign that your B12 isn't being processed properly, and it's time for a change. Now, before we wrap up, here's your takeaway. Just because a vitamin is popular doesn't mean it's safe, especially after 60. Most of the stroke risk doesn't come from missing nutrients. It comes from the wrong combinations, wrong forms, or wrong doses. If this shocked you, let us know in the comments. Which of these vitamins are you taking right now, and are you rethinking any of them? We read every comment and respond with personalized health tips for seniors trying to stay sharp, active, and independent. And if you found this valuable, hit the subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss our upcoming videos, especially the one where we expose the 7 supplement stacks making seniors sick. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one. Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching.